Hello YouTube, this is Galwayugo here, and today I'm here with a new and very different video than what I usually do. This is my guide to the tutorial of Dark Souls 3, or the tutorial to the guide to the noobs of Dark Souls 3, whatever you want to call it. I don't really know. Quickly before we start the actual game and I go through how to defeat the first two major enemies you'll fight, I do want to go over what classes are really the best, and yeah, let's get into it. First off, the Knight is probably the best class because luck is a pretty bad stat unless you're going for a bleed, poison, or a luck scaling weapon build, which are generally not advised for new players, at least in my opinion. They kind of require you to know what you're doing to get those kind of, playstyles going. So Knight is really good because it is a low luck stat and it's pretty decent stats all around. It's got a really good shield, it's got good armor, everything is great starting off. Mercenary is pretty damn good too. A low luck stat, it's below 10, which is kind of what you're aiming for, but all around very good for dex builds. Warrior, excellent too. Higher luck, but it has lower attunement, so it's great for those people who are completely ignoring any form of magic and are just going for like a physical build. It's actually just as good as Knight in that case because you don't waste points on either attunement or as many on intelligence or faith. Herald is kind of good for an all-rounder if you're not sure what you want to do yet, and Thief is pretty bad for everyone. You start off with the short bow, but the dagger is awful to start off with, and the luck is very high, as is the attunement and the intelligence. Assassin, kind of a good all-rounder, 10 luck, high dexterity, but everything else is pretty average. High attunement, sure, but it's good for another, like the Herald, for just general builds if you're not sure what you're doing yet. And it starts with the S-Talk, an excellent weapon to start off with. Actually, probably the best weapon in the game in terms of PvP and even PvE, especially on bosses. Sorcerer, it's okay. I'm not an expert on magic in this game, but as far as I know, sorcery is pretty bad until you get to near the end of the game. Not a very good class to start off with as a newbie to the series. Pyromancy, however, is quite good. Pyromancy is strong. Not sorcery. Pyromancy is completely different. It's got low luck, and it's got good stats for either faith or intelligence, which are sorcery and miracles respectively, but when they use them together, you can get pyromancies, which this is a pyromancer, of course. It's good stats all around, but it's more aimed for people who want to use a bit of magic or aren't really sure yet. A good all-rounder class, again, with a low luck. Cleric is for faith. I wouldn't recommend this class at all. It's good for newbies, but not great if you're playing through this game for your first time. And what I mean by that is it's great in like the first few areas, but then you'll suddenly realize that miracles just really aren't that good for offense, although the mace is a good weapon. And deprive is really not a good choice to start off with for your first playthrough. It's extremely balanced stat wise and gives you the room to do whatever you want with your builds later on. However, starting with a pretty useless shield, no armor, and a kind of weakish weapon, or an average weapon at best, isn't the good choice for noobs. I'd honestly go with any of these first three. Herald is good too, and so is Assassin, Pyromancer as well. But in general, my advice for someone who's starting off the game playing Dark Souls for the first time, I'd recommend the Knight, the Mercenary, or the Warrior. I think they're all very good options. I'm going to go with the Mercenary here because this is the build I want to make after the guide. I want to turn this character into a character I'm going to play after I've done this video. All of these are kind of not amazing. None of them are amazing. Let's get that out of the way. This will help you with the first boss, this Black Fire Bomb. Hidden Blessing and Divine Blessing are one-off healing items. I wouldn't advise taking either of them. This heals your FP, which is your mana. This heals your health, which is, well, your health. Life Ring is okay for new players. It's not a consumable. You wear it on your finger, so it's always there. But it's outclassed kind of after the first third of the game. But still, it's a good option. Black Fire Bomb, as I said, great for killing the first boss. After that, it's not as... Well, you run out of them. They're consumable. You throw them once, they're gone. I think you start off with like 7 of them, though. A Fire Gem, you can infuse your weapon with fire. This is very good for the first few areas of the game. However, soon after, it becomes pretty bad because split damage on weapons and losing scaling on weapons. Scaling is, by the way, your boost to your weapon based on your strength, dexterity, intelligence, and faith stats, depending on what the weapon scales with. You lose that, so you actually technically lose a bit of damage later on when you invest into those stats by leveling up. Sovereign Souls gives you 2,000 souls, which is your currency. Pretty good item. I usually choose this all of the time. Rusted Gold Coin. This ups your item discovery quite significantly for a couple of minutes. Really good item, unless it's not a good item, and by that I mean unless there's a specific item you want to get off a certain enemy. Maybe you see an armor set you really want off an enemy. It's not very useful outside of that. I often never use these in any playthroughs in any Souls game unless there's a weapon I really want. Dark Souls 2 Lois armor, sorry, that kind of thing, but outside of that, it's not very good. Cracked Red Eye Orb allows you to invade people. I don't know how many you get from taking this. Of course, it's not advice for a new player, because why would you want to invade other people? You're going to get your ass kicked if you're brand new to the series. And Young White Branch pretty much allows you to turn into an object and be unnoticed by enemies. However, that's not that useful. However, it does allow you not to get shot down by a friendly NPC early on in the game, but I won't spoil that for you. I'm going to go with the Sovereign Soul, and that's pretty much us done. To start off, I'm just going to, wake up in my coffin. I'll skip the cutscene for the purpose of this video. I won't spoil anything for you guys. And yeah, pretty much you wake up in a place called the Cemetery of Ash, and that's where I'm going to be going for this first episode, or first video. I'm not sure if I'll do any after this, actually, because, well, the more you play, the less newbie you'll be. So this guide only has a certain time before it becomes obsolete, and you know how to play anyways. You can look through the controls on these messages here, but I will not bore you with that kind of thing. I'm just here to show you what are the good options you can take early on and how to defeat the two difficult enemies. I won't go how to defeat those hollows because they die in one hit to most of the starting weapons. And honestly, you're going to need to learn how to avoid that kind of standard enemy by yourself, because pretty much every enemy will have different kind of movesets that you'll need to learn anyways. So by me telling you what these guys' moveset are will only help you through a few minutes of worth of gameplay, and they're pretty darn easy anyways. And it's good to mess up on them and die to them, because at least you'll start learning the mechanics of the game. So quickly, I'm just going to run through these guys and try not to get hit and make too big a fool of myself. Oh, I shouldn't have said anything. Okay, so we're going to move up here, and this is where the first kind of mini-boss you'll fight is. It's not a mini-boss, but it might as well be with the difficulty that it creates this early in the game, which is this crystal beast. Let me fight it. It's not that difficult, but it can be quite hard for a newcomer if you don't know how to avoid it. You just roll to its right, well, to its left, to your right, all times, and you'll avoid most of its attacks, except for its tail swipe and a couple of its more powerful attacks. And then once it staggers, you can do this, which, if the camera didn't kind of mess up there, was a riposte, which kind of stuns it and does heavy damage. So as you see, I keep rolling to my right, to that monster's left, after I've been in front of it for too long. Oh, I got hit there. That was embarrassing, but the point still remains. You can still heal up if it does hit you 1 or 2 times. I'm back to hitting it again. We try and get for the second riposte. The riposte is, by the way, as I mentioned, when it kind of gets staggered for a second, you can do heavy damage and stun it. There we go, and hopefully this will show you what it does. Camera kind of messed up again, but I more or less got to show you. There we go. Probably shouldn't have just face tanked it there, but I got the job done. We continue on. We pick up that item. Those are important items to pick up, by the way. We continue on down this way where we came. By the way, you may have noticed in the bottom right corner of the screen we've our soul meter. We've just gotten 4,000 souls from that one kill, which is 40 times as many as we got from killing those 3 or 4 enemies up until fighting them. These guys only give 24 souls each. So let me go and kill this one guy. Actually, some may give 20, like this one, but I believe the ones with the swords give 24. And by the swords, I don't mean these little dagger things. I mean the actual big swords. Not big swords, but of a reasonable size. And yeah, that's the first area done. And that crystal beast was very important to kill, because not only did it give you a Titanite skill, which is used for upgrading certain weapons in the game, but it also gave you, as I mentioned, 4,000 souls, which I'm not sure exactly how much level ups it is for the different classes, but it's roughly about 6 or 7. It's quite a lot, actually. Maybe a bit less because you pay more to level up in the amount of souls every level you do get. So at level 10 it'll cost you only about 700 souls, I guess, whereas later on it might start costing you thousands. Mid to late game it can cost you over 100,000 souls to level up in once. So yeah, diminishing returns, you could say. You can jump over here, if I can make the jump. Okay, thankfully I didn't embarrass myself. And get that Titanite shard, very important upgrade material for any of the basic weapons in the game. Not boss weapons or special unique weapons, but standard weapons like these swords I have in my hand. Quickly get behind him. You can do a backstab by getting behind an enemy, as long as he's not recovering from a stagger. And you can riposte someone by either doing a lot of damage to a big enemy, or by parrying them, or guard breaking them. This is either by hitting them when they have a shield up. You can sometimes guard break them. This is easier with heavier, stronger strike weapons. Or, on the flip side, as I said, parry. When they attack you, you can do this with your shield. Hopefully I can do it with the shield. Yes, this. And it will parry them, and you can riposte them. I will not do this, simply because... Whoa. This is quite the ambush. If that enemy right there with the shield had a little bit more health, I probably could have guard broken him, but he didn't have enough health, so he just died from the damage that did get through the shield. Different shields have different percentage of physical damage reduction. You'll probably want to get something with 80 or above if you want to survive kind of getting guard broken, or survive big hits from bosses later on. Okay, so this is the first boss of the tutorial area, sorry. And we'll take him on and see how we do. His name is Ludex Gundyr, and he is not the easiest, but not the hardest, so don't worry. Put fire bombs on, you pick them up from where I fought those 3 guys on the side of that cliff there, and they can help do a lot of damage to him later in the fight, and I'll show you that now. First remove the sword, and then immediately start slashing away at them, because he will take damage as soon as he starts getting... He'll take more damage when you stagger him back like this. And now you could start throwing firebombs at him and do massive damage like this. But I will fight him with my swords to save those firebombs. I don't recommend doing this because it's not really as useful later on, the firebombs, but I still like keeping them for pulling enemies that I don't want to take on big groups. And there you go. In Phase 2, you just stay behind them. In Phase 1, you just pretty much keep circling them and trying to get behind them as well. In general, if a monster is big and not that fast, just stay behind them and you can pretty much not even have to avoid all his moves. He'll just do them in front of you and skip you completely. So yeah, that's it for this tutorial video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any comments or anything, leave them down below. I might do more videos if this gets a few, likes or whatever, but I'll see. Thank you guys for watching. The Galway Yu-Gi-Oh! Peace out.